Present yourself. I'm very bad at the beginning of the
That's
interview.
okay, that's okay. My name is Alanna Kibbe. I'm a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu blue belt under George Brito. I primarily train at Toronto BJJ. And I've been training for just a few months shy of 3 years.
Okay. What you were doing before the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu?
So my beginning of Jiu Jitsu is very interesting. I did not do any sports or even any routine exercise before Jiu Jitsu at all in pretty much my entire life. In grade 9 I was on a swim team, but I quit before the first meet because I didn't like being told what to do. I was a midwife for over 15 years. I'm now retired. And my body retired me. So in 2016, I was put off work because as midwives we are, or as midwives I was self-employed, and so there are no accommodations. And I started developing a series of autoimmune diseases, and was no longer able to work at night. So I was put off work at that point and worked with a rheumatology team to try to figure out what was happening in my body.
Because you didn't know.
We didn't know. There was a long period of not having a diagnosis. So that went on actually for almost a year, where I had just extreme, I will call it now, autoimmune fatigue. I stopped being able to recover from working nights. I went from being able to sleep the next day and then be okay to taking 5, 6, 7 days and still not being able to recover when I would have to pull an overnight shift. Yeah. And then after the fatigue went on for months and months, pain started in my SI joints. But it was radiating pain. It felt like fire in my joints.
Where is the SI joints?
Sacroiliac joints in the back.
Below the...
above your butt.
Above your butt? Okay.
Above your butt. It felt like fire, but it radiated up and down. So there were lots of presumptive diagnoses. I went through tons of testing and eventually was diagnosed via MRI with an autoimmune disease called enteropathic spondyloarthritis, which is more commonly known as ankylosing spondylitis. It's called a different thing for me because it's technically caused by a different autoimmune disease. I also have an intestinal disease, which was just diagnosed a few years before that.
So how many immune diseases you have? 3. Wow.
So my intestinal disease was diagnosed in 2013 when I was still working. I took a very short amount of time off work. I rushed myself back, even though my diagnosis involved a hospitalization and was painful and messy and all these things. I just rushed back.
Why did you rush back?
I loved my work.
It was not because of money or anything, it's just because you love your...
I just had a very strong work ethic, which was part of why I probably kept working into my autoimmune fatigue and my pain when I should have been stopping sooner. I was finally put off work by my GP in my general practitioner, my physician, put me off work in early 2016, and we then spent the next 8 months or so trying to figure out what my diagnosis was, while I was in constant pain.
Yeah. But pain in the back or in the rest of the body?
In my SI joints specifically, but sometimes I'll have pain that's more severe. We call it a pain flare. And when this happens, it is also in my knees, in my hips. It goes up my spine, in my shoulders, in my neck. There are times that it's so bad I have pain in what feels like all my joints in my body. It affects my hands at times.
So you couldn't move up from your bed?
I made myself move from my bed, but I would say in some of the worst pain flares, I couldn't touch my toes.
You couldn't touch your toes?
I could not bend at the waist to touch my toes.
Okay.
And after that, I went to the rheumatologist and I said, I can't live like this. This is not reasonable. This is not a quality of life that I'm willing to tolerate. So what do I do? And she said, we have two choices. you can engage in some sort of intensive exercise that includes flexibility, endurance, cardio, and most specifically core strengthening.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually you need to strengthen all of your muscles around these affected joints. Or we can start you on an immunosuppressant that will potentially manage the inflammation.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not doing that. So can I start jiu-jitsu? I said, my husband trains jiu-jitsu. Can I do that? Is that allowed? And she was like, well, sure.
So you had the idea of jiu-jitsu because your husband or...
Because my husband had been training for quite a few years.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, I know that, I'd never trained. I'd never actually set foot in the gym. But I knew that it included all of those components that she was naming that I needed to be engaging in to make my body stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that time, it was like the fall of 2016, I went and worked with a personal trainer who specialized, quite frankly, in like senior citizens with arthritis.
Mm-hmm.
And she helped me build my core strength and gave me home exercise routines, which I'd never done before in my life. I thought it was reasonable that exercise was me chasing my children around. I called that my exercise. I was like, I'm active, it's fine. So I worked with her until I built up my core strength some, and built up my cardio endurance.
And did it actually change your...
It changed my ability to cope with my pain, is what that did.
Okay.
And then a few months later, I went to the annual for Toronto BJJ. It was the 2016 annual because my kids were competing.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I actually saw jiu-jitsu, really. I'd gone in at that point to pick up the kids after their classes a few times, but really I wasn't really paying attention, to be honest. And at the annual, I was floored. I was like, this is amazing. This is a community and a family that I adore the way people are coming together for this. To me, it was this way of engaging with our bodies that's more genuine and present and healthy. And it honestly, it was beautiful to me. And so I signed up for an intro and I went in and I started training in January 2017.
2017?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what are your limitations in when you train?
Well, so my limitations when I started training are different than what they are now.
Okay.
So when I started training, my limitations were, if I was holding someone in guard, and somehow I had to open my guard, I had to be very careful and learn how to not let them drop me. Right?
Drop you?
Yeah, like I had to learn how to not fall on my spine. Like even a break fall is sometimes too much for my spine and my SI joints.
Okay.
So it's beyond like learning break falls really well. I couldn't fall at the beginning.
So if someone was in the closed guard and they were putting pressure on your belly, for example, to escaping...
That's different. I'm talking more about if they stand up and I maintain my guard.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
So I had to learn new ways of managing everything that had to do with falling. At the beginning, that was one of the things that was a huge challenge and an adaptation.
Yeah.
But as I built my strength and I think my core strength, but also my muscle strength around those joints, that shifted. And then in October 2017, I got in a car accident. I was T-boned in an intersection. Someone ran a red light and T-boned me.
What does it mean T-bone?
They drove into the side of the car.
Oh, wow.
And...
so you were in the car when
So I was driving and they drove into the side of the car. And the process of braking really hard suddenly tore the cartilage in my right hip. And also... fairly severely concussed me.
No, but the
I wasn't knocked out, but I had whiplash from the impact, and the whiplash actually caused a concussion.
What is whiplash?
My head bounced.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because the car hit you
so hard.
So
that I
how we say
braking.
Yeah. You hurt your hips.
Yes.
And by the impact you got a concussion.
Yes. So that took me completely out of jiu-jitsu for months.
Yeah, imagine.
And because my autoimmune diseases involve an inflammatory process, I just couldn't heal from the concussion. And
so how severe was the concussion?
I don't know the numbers, but it was like, you know how they grade it. But it was severe enough that I still have post-concussion syndrome. Right now?
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, you are the second woman that told me that got in the car accident, and the other woman, it took her 1-2 years to recover, and she's not fully recovered.
Yeah.
I have the feeling, and it's not the only feeling, but it's also something that I read, that a woman that gets a concussion is not the same thing as a man getting a concussion.
I don't think it is. I think it's different. Yeah.
It's different. I don't know how it's different, but I read articles. You know Melissa?
Yes. She actually treated me after my concussion for months. She was amazing, and she brought me back. She did eye exercises. She did a lot of work with me.
And she wrote an article, and I didn't read the articles, but I should read it.
You should read it.
Yes, I should read it. But the article was like that: the concussion for a woman is different than the concussion for a man.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I was concussed and not training because of that, but also the tear in the cartilage in my hip caused like I'm gonna just call it what it feels like in my body, like a communication malfunction between my hips and my SI joints. So instead of having pain flare, like instead of having constant pain in my SI joints that was very low level, with pain flares that I could then manage through exercise, through movement, etc., I suddenly had a much higher level of pain all the time.
Oh wow.
And a higher level of pain that was really significant during my pain flares. It was like it aggravated it. So my flares, instead of being, you know, weeks or even sometimes over a month apart, they were back to back and almost non-stop. So I went from
back to back every hours?
No, back to back as in like I'd have one that would last a few weeks, and then I'd have, you know, a few days of a break, and then I'd have another.
Oh wow.
And then another. And they persisted despite physiotherapy. Like, I mean, the physio helped, but it was like the inflammation was just so significant that it was difficult to heal. And I didn't know how I would get back to jiu-jitsu or when. And then my body told me. So in March of 2018, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And when I received my breast cancer diagnosis, I was still off the mats from the car accident. And I went to my physio team and I went to my doctor team and I said, that's it, that's enough. I have to go back to training. You have to tell me how to do this because my body needs me to be active and in that community.
Yeah.
Right? Because in the time that I trained, even though it was only part of a year, the community that I engaged with through training, particularly in the women's classes, became my family.
Yeah.
And I knew that to get through breast cancer at the age of 40, while a mother of young children, I needed that family. And I needed to feel strong at the same time, and jiu-jitsu makes me feel strong.
Yeah.
So I put myself back on the mats, very adapted. I mean, when I first came back, I did, you know, half the warm-up.
Okay.
And didn't really train. And slowly I came back to doing a bit of technique, but not really rolling at all.
But is what I said to people, but nobody listened to me, and I don't think I will listen even myself. But it's if you cannot train, you can still go
Yes.
and watch.
Yeah.
Put your gi, sit, and be like, that's the maximum I can do.
Yeah.
Like Seon, I'm butchering her names. Seona. You know the girl that they always talk at the annual. Sana. She did that. I saw the only 2 times I saw her is when she came, and she has a cancer, and she was like a month or less than a month before she died, and she came with the gi. The gi was too heavy for her, so she had to take off and she was here. So if you really want to be in the community, and it's not only jiu-jitsu, it's like if you really want to be in community, but you cannot participate in community, by being there is already participating.
Well, that was part of what I did. I mean, I did the same thing, not even knowing that was her story. So that's kind of amazing to hear.
No, my reaction was very weird because I didn't know how to react at that.
Yeah.
You know, when you see someone that sick, and I didn't understand. I was younger, and I didn't understand the sacrifice or the community, because I was coming from Sambo, and Sambo is not very community place. It's more a place where you train, you try to beat everybody in the room, and that's it.
Yeah.
So but she was the first one I see doing that.
Yeah. So I came back in March of 2018, and I did what I could. Mostly I worked on getting my heart rate up and learning how to breathe on the mats again, and spent time in community. I trained right up through like the night before my surgery. In early April 2018, I had a bilateral mastectomy, so they had to remove both of my breasts to take the cancer out, and they also had to take lymph nodes from both sides.
What is lymph nodes?
Lymph nodes. Lymph nodes are like the filtration system for our lymphatic fluid that is part of our immune system.
Okay.
So when cancer spreads in breast cancer, the first place it goes is to the lymphatic system. So they had to take lymph nodes from both sides to look for cancer within my lymphatic system, and I was very fortunate, there was no cancer there. So I was able to not need to have any traditional chemotherapy or radiation therapy, because the cancer hadn't gone beyond my breast tissue. So my recovery from that surgery was really hard and intense. It took months for me to start to feel like I could even come back to the gym to watch a class. Because movement and range of motion were especially challenging afterward.
Yeah, it's also emotionally, it should be.
It was very emotional.
Yeah.
It was very emotional.
Yeah, imagine.
It was, I mean, as women, we really are tied to the way that our bodies are expected to be by the world.
Yeah.
And that had to be challenged in my body for me to stay alive. So I had to redefine how I understand myself in my femininity. I had to redefine how I understand myself as a mother, with my body being different. I had to learn how to dress myself again, because I could not put my arms over my head.
Yeah.
I had severe nerve damage because they had to sever the nerves in the surgery. Severe nerve damage across my chest, back, and down my arms.
So you have a hard time to feel something around this area?
Well, I still have that. I still have numbness, but the numbness has receded, and now it's just across my scar line. Whereas I was numb, like from here to here. And it wasn't just numbness. The nerve damage caused pain that felt like an iron cage closing in on me. It made it hard to breathe and move. It felt like I was being squeezed by metal.
Yeah.
With shooting pains down my arms. and numbness in my hands. So I also couldn't write. It made so many things difficult. It was hard to prepare food. I remember the first day that I figured out I could open the refrigerator with my foot because I physically couldn't bear the weight of pulling the refrigerator open. That was too heavy. That was too much pressure.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time dreaming about like, how can I repair my pec muscles? I want muscles again, you know? It was hard, and I couldn't pick up my children. I was so limited in so many ways, and I wanted to feel the strength that just putting the gi on and showing up made me feel. So as soon as I had it in me emotionally to do that, some of the women from our women's program started helping me do that. So they would actually come to my house, pick me up. I couldn't lift my gi bag. They would pick me up, they would take my gear, they would drive me to the gym, because going on TTC even, going on public transit was, I'll just call it what it was hell. Because I physically couldn't bear the weight of my own body to stand and hold on.
Yeah.
And I don't look sick or disabled in the way that people expect sick and disabled to look.
Yeah.
So being able to get a seat when I needed to sit down because I couldn't hold up my body meant I had to fight my way through
listen,
the people.
My wife got, she broke bones on the foot, so she has an entire thing that was clear she was injured.
Yeah.
She got one time an operation on the knee, so it was clear that she was injured because, and they didn't give a seat, they were pushing her.
I know.
And
there was one day I actually got on the bus, and it was completely packed, it was rush hour, and I said to the driver, I'm healing from surgery, I need to be able to sit down.
No, they don't listen.
And he looked at me and he rolled his eyes, and I said, I'm a cancer patient who just had a mastectomy and I can't physically hold up my body. I had to tell him my medical history to be able to sit.
Yeah.
You know, it was terrible. Anyway, so the women would come and get me, so I wouldn't have to like fight my way to the gym.
Yeah.
And they would actually come to the change room with me and dress me in my gi, because I physically couldn't lift my arms to put my gi top on. They would dress me, and then I would go to class and I would sit and I would take notes. I started a notebook at that time.
Like John Benneret.
And I wrote down everything. Sometimes it was hard to focus because of my pain, and I would draw pictures.
You didn't try to take videos? Or you could take videos or not?
I didn't. I could have, I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Because what I do,
Yeah.
sometimes I take a video, I watch it one time, I never watch it again, but because I took the video and I watched it one time, I remember.
Well, I think that was what writing was for me.
Oh yeah?
That I wrote down the steps in the technique. The steps that I think often you think to yourself while the instructor's teaching, you think, oh, I wish I could write this down right now.
Yeah.
All the little details, you know, about the micro movements, the way that that's being explained, I wrote it all down. And I used that as my way of feeling like I was participating in jiu-jitsu. And I was. It was a different way to learn. It was probably great for my concussion recovery, because it pushed me to try to think and remember in different ways than I have been. And I continued doing that until I recovered enough to come back into warm-ups and slowly started coming back into training. Then in December of 2018, received my blue belt. After having been back for the the fall, training as I could. So adapted training for a while looked like I would only flow roll with upper belts, and training with other white belts was actually really hard. because I had to protect myself so much.
Yeah, no.
You know, so sometimes friends would come to class with me just to train with me.
Yeah.
And that continued for many, many months, even into my blue belt. And then in February 2019, I was diagnosed with lymphedema. So
what is
lymphedema is lymphatic swelling. I only had a 5% chance of getting this, so it just, great luck on my part. Basically, it means when they take out the lymph nodes in a surgery like this, it's like putting a dam into the lymphatic system. It stops the flow of the lymphatic fluid because there's no filter for it to move through, because those lymph nodes are gone. So they the lymphatic fluid has to redirect itself, and for whatever reason my lymphatic fluid got confused and got stuck, and then I became swollen from it. It's not like regular swelling, it's very specific.
But you got swollen where?
My chest, my back, and my arms. So
it's why you have this
yes, this is management of it, and I also have a compression vest that I wear during the day, every day. It's like from here to here, and it compresses my back and my chest, where the lymphatic swelling is. And I wear, because I'm so small, the compression vest I have is actually not quite small enough for me.
Okay.
So I wear an extra layer of compression over it all the time.
So 2 layers of compression.
2 layers of compression. Whenever I am bearing weight or exercising in any way, shape, or form, or doing anything that involves repetitive arm motion, so cutting vegetables, painting, I paint. So anytime I'm doing this, I also have to wear compression sleeves, medical compression sleeves on my arms and my hands.
Wow.
So I have to wear all of these layers of compression. And when the lymphedema started, it was quite severe at the very beginning because it wasn't yet managed. So it took me, I had come back to adapted but pretty engaged training, and I had to pull myself back. I could no longer even flow roll. I had a time period of quite a few months where I could not bear weight on my arms at all. I had been weight bearing enough that I was able to do, I think it was up to 1 minute 20 in planks, which post mastectomy is pretty awesome.
Yeah, there's people here that have nothing what you have. I asked them to do a plank for 1 minute, and they put the knee every 20 seconds. So.
And then all of a sudden they say, well, you can't bear your own weight. You can't actually bear weight above 5 pounds. You have to bring your weight down, your weight bearing down. So, so I had been weight training at that point as well at one of the cancer centers. I went in for like a post-cancer exercise program, and was like, okay, I don't actually need all of this. Please just teach me how to lift.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to rebuild my arm and pec muscles.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the scar tissue actually from my surgery is so profuse that it's into my back, it's into my lats. So there was a lot of work that I had to do to re-strengthen those muscles while loosening the scar tissue. It was intense. Anyway, so I so to speak lost my weight bearing for a time period, and that lymphedema has just now become well managed enough that the clinician I see who helps me manage it, which is not covered by the healthcare system, she has just said, like, I think you can start increasing your weight bearing again very slowly while wearing your compression.
So you training right now or not?
I'm training adapted. So my training right now looks like being very careful of hip motion because of the tear in my hip. It looks like being very careful with falling and break falls. So to not cause any increased trauma that would lead to increased inflammation that would lead to a pain flare. It means sometimes I have to do warm-ups on the floor instead of in motion because the repetitive motion...
With your butt on the floor?
Yeah. Like, and I can't do the little bit of running that we do in warm-ups at times. I just have to warm up on the floor.
Yeah,
instead.
Are they making you doing the Ribeiro warm-up? Because
I don't know the Ribeiro.
The Ribeiro, when they opened the dojo was so small, they didn't have space to run. So they started to do gymnastica natural movement. So for example, walking on your butt, back and forth, walking to the side, going to the side like that, doing this kind of thing, bam, bam, or this, and all this kind of warm-up that doesn't take a lot of space, but first of all, it kills your abs like nobody, nothing else. And all this kind of movement, so they're making you doing that?
So when I started coming in and needing to adapt my warm-up, I was given some gymnastica natural technique to do for the warm-up based on my limitations.
Yes.
So so that's what I would do. So very similar, but less focus on the butt because of my SI joint.
Oh yeah. So more rolling.
Yeah.
More rolling on your shoulder, no?
Yeah. So some shoulder rolls, but even just making sure I was getting my hips open. Stretching. Lots of stretching. Fast stretching to try to get my heart rate up, so that I would actually be warm before technique. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now because I'm starting to bear weight on my arms again, I'm flow rolling a little bit. So I'm asking my training partners not to give me too much pressure and not to finish any submissions, but to flow through them with me and to focus on technique with me.
Flow rolling.
There's
not a lot of people that are able to flow roll.
I know. So I'm actually finding that some of the people who I'm training with, I'm helping them learn how to do it. And it's at first I felt really bad. I felt like, oh gosh, I'm limiting my training partner's abilities. But then I realized we get to learn together, and it's good for our technique. You know?
So, my opinion about floor rolling, because this is a very polemic thing, is that floor rolling is helpful. I'm not. I like to roll hard. I like to roll so hard that I almost pass out. That's how I like to go, because in my brain there is a part that tells me, yeah, you still 20. So sometimes I roll like I like that. But flow, if we talk about technique, flow roll is great to learn. My problem is that a lot of people use the floor roll to be lazy. Or to, they say to a guy, yeah, we're gonna floor roll. And as soon as they're losing the fight, they're like, oh no, go easy. But as soon as they win the fight, they stop floor rolling and they just smash you down. Floor roll, if you floor roll with someone, you should be, if you floor roll and you didn't tap one time, and you are the same belt level, this means one of you were not floor rolling. Okay. This morning I floor roll with a student. He's a blue belt, and he caught me in a submission, and I was like, because the game of floor rolling is to is to don't stop moving, is to don't lose strength, is to go from one position to another. If I catch you, I let you go, and we continue and we continue. Catch and release. And it's very useful, and it's good. I think you should do it as a warm up if you don't have any physical problem, and it's very good. But when you roll at the end of the class, you roll. So the thing about the floor rolling is that when it's time to roll, and if the guy doesn't want to roll, and you are healthy, and he decides to smash you down, then you have to accept it. Jiu-Jitsu is that. That's my problem with the floor rolling with some healthy people or lazy people. But I find this great.
For me, it's a brilliant adapted technique. And it's a way for me to keep feeling like I'm improving my jiu-jitsu. I spent many months just going to drilling classes, because I felt like, okay, this is a way for me to learn jiu-jitsu without having there be a part of the class that I can't participate in. Right? So it started to feel like it didn't serve me for that period of time to go to classes where there was specific or full rolling as a part of the class, because sitting off on the side stopped feeling good. You know? I was ready to be back in my heart, but not in my body. So drilling classes were great. And still there would occasionally be a technique I couldn't drill, but most of the time I could.
Yeah.
And so I'm using flow rolling now as a way to transition more towards full training, more towards rolling. And I don't know that I'll ever be able to roll again without limitations, right?
Yeah.
The lymphedema is chronic. It's never going to go away. It's like, I named 2 of my autoimmune diseases. I also have one in my eyes. And
you told me that you have 3.
Yeah. So the one in my intestines, the one in my spine, the one in my eyes, and then the lymphedema is just another chronic condition on top of everything else. Yeah. I still have nerve pain, but it's a lot less. Like there was a while when I came back where someone would bump me and I would just have shooting shocks that felt like electricity, and I'd have to stop training because it hurt so much. I felt like I was being electrocuted, and luckily that stopped. That was terrible, and I think it scared my training partners.
Yeah, no.
I would have to stop, mid drilling, and they would be like, "Are you okay?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I just feel like my body's electrocuting itself. Sorry, I need to go sit over there for a minute." And,
absolutely, yeah.
So those are my limitations now. Weight bearing, being careful of the tear in my cartilage. I've been in and out of physio since the car accident. And see all kinds of people to manage, the post-concussion syndrome and all these things. But my constant repair is actually jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Can you drive? Oh, no, you cannot drive it.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So I stopped driving in all this.
Yeah.
And, lifting my gi bag is tricky. So to carry my gi bag when it has all my gear in it, I have to wear my compression because of the weight.
So we did a no-gi class, and you didn't want to participate, but what is the problem with the no-gi?
So one of the things that I have to wear to be able to train at all is I can't actually wear a regular rash guard because my surgery involved taking all of my soft tissue. It's literally skin and then bones.
Okay.
Across my rib cage. And so pressure, with just a rash guard, for example, I can't tolerate it.
Yeah.
It's very painful. So one of the women actually who I train with, who is amazing, at one point decided she wanted to go to fashion school and then quit, but it gave her lots of incredible skills. And so she invented a rash guard for me that has a pocket across the front that has a silicone pad in it that I take out to wash it. That literally the silicone goes from here up and up to here. So it's the entire scar line is covered.
Yeah.
But so is my rib cage, right?
Yeah.
So instead of it just being skin and bones with nothing to protect me, it gives a layer of protection.
Yeah.
And so to train, I wear that with an extra layer of compression over it that is not a rash guard. So, so that said, I've never trained no-gi, and I decided today was not the day to start.
No. I was just curious.
Yeah. But it's a lot of stuff that I have to wear to get on the mats.
Yeah.
And it's awkward, and the gi makes me feel less self-conscious.
Yeah. No. Okay.
In all of this gear. No-gi feels more vulnerable, maybe.
It's still more vulnerable because you have less clothes and everything. Yeah, totally get it.
So maybe someday in the future I'll go there, but I don't think I'm ready to right now.
Yeah, no problem. I was just curious.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's
okay. I mean, training in and of itself, you'd think that would make me feel vulnerable, but it doesn't. It makes me feel so tough and so strong and so resilient that that I'll never quit.
Yeah, that's the...
Even if my body keeps giving me crap, I like,
Yeah.
I...
Yeah, oh my God. Like, you know what? You know Thomas Beach?
Yeah, yeah.
I thought I will never hear a story as crazy as Thomas Beach, and you're reaching the level of Thomas Beach. What, I don't know if it's a compliment, because that means that there's a lot of things that go bad, that did go bad on you, and I'm sorry, but you're reaching the level of Thomas Beach, like, about craziness, about stuff happening to you.
Yeah, I mean, and there are a lot of things that make jiu-jitsu complicated. I can't really train 2 days in a row because it's too much for my body and I have pain flares. It's very tricky that, for example, in the winter, walking through snow actually causes me to have pain flares. So if I have to walk a distance to get to the subway, to get to the gym, by the time I get there, I'm often too tired to train much. You know, like there are all these things that make it challenging. I am a parent of small children, so they're my priority. Training has to be second to them. And so
do they let you sleep at their age?
Do they like to sleep?
No, they let you sleep.
Oh, they let me sleep. No.
When kids let you sleep?
I don't know. Parenting is a 24-hour job. It doesn't ever change. You just have to get used to it. Sorry.
I thought that there was an age all your kids understand they can sleep.
My 8-year-old yells in his sleep every night and wakes us up. I mean, often he's actually yelling at his brother in his sleep. It's like sleep fighting or something.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But, and they wake me up every morning, but usually that's just to hug me and tell me they love me. So that's okay.
Don't love me.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'll take it. I'll take the love. So I have to pace myself very carefully and really be gentle with myself. You know, there are some days that really all I can do is drilling slowly, but that's okay. I do it. You know.
Yeah. So I have no other question.
It's kind of a crazy jiu-jitsu story.
Yeah, it's a crazy it's not just a crazy jiu-jitsu story, it's a crazy life.
I know. So this past year I retired as a midwife. I resigned my registration.
You don't have a job?
No, I'm considered permanently disabled.
Yeah.
My training, I'm able to continue because it's been supported and authorized by so many of my healthcare providers, which I feel so appreciative for, that they understand that it's improved my health and my physical resilience as well as my quality of life. It's given me an incredible community that I would not trade for anything. It's given me new opportunities to look at how I exist in the world. So just this past week, my professor, George Brito, gifted me this incredible opportunity to be a part of helping make a roll-a-thon happen for Rethink Breast Cancer, which was a breast cancer organization that helped take care of me and served me when I really needed it. So it's not just jiu-jitsu, it's like this gift of being able to say thank you and do education and build community and jiu-jitsu family all at the same time.
Yes.
And I would not trade that for anything.
Did you intend to teach jiu-jitsu in the future?
Oh, I don't know. It's hard to have gone through so many things in my body and look to the future, if that makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense.
It's really made me need to just be very present with right now.
Okay.
Because I can hope that my lymphedema will be well managed and my jiu-jitsu can improve. I can hope that my children will become more independent, and that gives me more options of when I can train. I can hope for all of these things, but it's really hard to plan when your body keeps trying to quit on you.
Yeah, no,
you know? So
no, I don't know, and I wish I would never know, because like it's crazy, like
yeah. And at the same time, I've made a complex decision for myself. This is a personal decision that everyone living with chronic illness makes, that I've chosen not to take pharmaceutical pain management on as part of how I take care of myself.
Yeah.
I have chosen not to do that because I don't want that to be a part of what governs me. And so it means I live with more pain that I have to manage unpredictably daily.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I could teach, because I don't know that I could predictably be able to show up at the same time every week.
Yeah, okay.
With the way that my body exists. But a dream that I have, to be honest, would be to somehow at some point participate in some sort of programming that supports people who are coming back from illness or injuries to come back. Because I have found that a lot of my process of figuring out how to come back with each of these things has been very complex and creative, and with the help of my instructors, I've really had to come up with new systems of how to do so much of what I'm learning in class, to be able to gift that to other students who are coming back from injury or coming back from illness would be amazing.
Yeah, because 99.99% of the people that gonna come back from injury will not even be close to what you had it to come back from. So yeah.
But it's not even just that, it's just that the guidance that I received from all of my different instructors, I now contain, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely, I get it.
And what an incredible gift it would be to be able to share that with other people who are returning.
And if someone needs to return, he can ask you, because you know how to return.
Yeah. So right now what that looks like is that when people I've trained with before are coming back from injuries, or right now there's women coming back from having had babies, I train with them because I've learned so much about how to adapt to my own body. I can adapt to theirs as well, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
So so all the women who have babies, when they come back, I get to train with them, which is awesome. Yeah. So I'm already sort of starting to do that in my own jiu-jitsu practice with my training partner. So maybe someday.
Yeah, absolutely. That will be cool, because a lot of people want to come back and struggle to not be able to come back with self-image, and we don't even need to talk about injury. We can also just talk about getting old. Like people stop. For me, it was difficult to come back after 4 years. I was almost a professional fighter, and I stopped it. I gained weight and everything, and I came back. It was difficult. So I imagine, and I have no injury. My body was working perfectly. So I imagine people with injury that become big and lost all the physical ability, have to come back. That's difficult.
And there are two different components of it that I would actually include in it that I think are really significant for recovery, that aren't necessarily a part, like they're a part of some jiu-jitsu instructors' classes, more the gymnastica, but diaphragmatic breathing is incredible for healing and for centering and for health, and it has been invaluable for me to integrate into my post-training.
The gymnastic natural breathing.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that I, with my breast cancer diagnosis, I began establishing an intensive meditation practice. And I actually view my jiu-jitsu practice as an extension of that. It's like a full body physical meditation on the mats. I am present and I'm focused on my breath, and I'm right there. And all of the things that have happened to my body, they're not right there. They're not in that moment.
I'm trying to explain that to yoga people that don't believe me and don't understand me. I was starting a yoga conversation with someone that she's a smart woman. I consider smart, and I was like, yeah, because fighting is like meditation. And she looked to me and she's like, don't even start to talk about that, or you're gonna piss me off. So I didn't continue the conversation, but I was but you don't understand.
It is meditative.
Yes, it is meditation.
It's like a combination of meditation and chess in your body.
Yeah.
And so my meditation process and practice has really, I think, served my jiu-jitsu, but my jiu-jitsu has also served my meditation process, and they're very intertwined at this point.
Yeah. For me, I found that doing not only jiu-jitsu but doing sport is a is for me a meditation, because I'm not thinking about anything, just by doing the action, trying to resolve a puzzle, and my entire body try to resolve the puzzle, and that's it.
Well, that's part of how my meditation practice has actually served my jiu-jitsu, because when I first started coming back, I was I would walk on the mats with all of the emotions from everything that I've lived through.
Yeah.
I was carrying it with me, and it was so heavy, it was weighing me down.
Yeah.
And it made me feel so vulnerable that, I would start to train with someone I didn't know super well, and they'd, bump my chest or my shoulder where my pain was, and I'd just start bawling on the mats. And my meditation practice has actually really helped me be in the peacefulness of not needing to do anything else while I'm training.
Yeah.
I don't need to think about it. I don't need to be in that. I don't need to feel fear of what else my body might do next. I can just be there,
Yeah, no. I understand.
Yeah.
I didn't have to go through all the things you did go through, but yeah, I totally understand. I try to, there's a moment, when I stopped for 2 years of jiu-jitsu, I try to be an adult and find a job, have a career, and I'm not able to do that.
I think being an adult is a bit overrated. But
yeah, I'm not able to be an adult. So I became fat, I got to depression, because I have a depression. Even if I do jiu-jitsu, I suffer about depression. So I was going bad, and there's a moment where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just go train. I'm gonna do jiu-jitsu, and if the world ends tomorrow, ain't gonna end tomorrow. I'm gonna go train. And so it started to be my thing. It started to be like, you know what? Oh, I'm making no money and I'm a loser. I'm gonna go do jiu-jitsu for 2 hours. I'm gonna choke people, getting choked, and gonna be fun. And I left, and I was too tired to think about everything was going wrong, and that's it. And it's how this dojo opened, because I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do jiu-jitsu my job. If there's not other job that I can do anyway, because I get fired all the time for a reason that I don't even understand. So you know what? I'm gonna do jiu-jitsu, and that's it. So,
So I feel like that's a part of recovery that is has a lot of potential to be a part of jiu-jitsu practice as people are recovering. So someday maybe I'll help create a jiu-jitsu recovery.
I think if you can, when you have your purple belt, if you want to do it, it will be maybe a good thing to try to do. I don't know if you're going to be able, because of your limitation and all the crazy things that don't stop happening to you. But if one day life decides to give you a break, and you can find the time and the energy and the situation, I think it will be good.
I have to interrupt you there and say life has given me, I wouldn't call it a break, but it's given me incredible gifts. Like, I know that what I've lived through, no one would choose, and I wouldn't choose it, but I wouldn't trade it. Because it has made me who I am, and it's made me strong, and it's made me live in my resilience, instead of wondering if I had resilience.
Yeah.
Right? So when I was first diagnosed with cancer, I would tell people, and they would say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I got to the point where I would start to tell people, and I would say, okay, I'm going to tell you something, but if you tell me you're sorry, I'm going to punch you. I'm going to hit you. I'm going to knock you down. I'm going to put you on the ground because I don't want to hear I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I want to hear you're badass and you've got this, and knock the crap out of that cancer.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, I've approached all of this maybe differently than other people do, that I really have not taken a moment to be like, oh, I wish this hadn't happened, because I have no choice. We're not in control.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd all like to believe that we are, but
no,
we're not.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
We're not in control of what our bodies do in sickness at times, and the only thing we can do about that is learn to live with it and lift ourselves up despite it, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah. All of my different illnesses have not just gifted me jiu-jitsu, but have also actually gifted me a resurgence of creativity. Before I became a midwife, I painted quite a bit. I had a few art shows. I put my work in the world, and then, you know, became a midwife, really focused on that. It was crazy hours. I didn't paint for over 15 years. And I just had my first show this past summer for the first time since 2001. So, wow. And it's complicated for me to be able to paint. I have to hold my arm with my other arm because the lymphedema is worse on this side than this side. So I'm painting by holding my arm
So
up.
you didn't start to paint with the other arms?
Well, I'm so right-handed, I don't know. It's
because
easier.
Painting, doing with the other hands, it helps the brain of the connection. So maybe your thing gonna be very bad because
I know the brush won't do what I want it to do on that
I love drawing because I love comic books, so I love drawing. And sometimes to just like a warm up when I was drawing, because now I don't draw anymore because I spent my entire life to do jiu-jitsu, teach jiu-jitsu, promote jiu-jitsu, make that dojo continue to survive and bring more students to try to, because I have a dream and I run after that dream and nothing else. But before, when I was drawing, I was sometimes for 10 minutes just drawing with the other hands, feel very bad about what was happening, but because I had the connection of the brain.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll file that away. Thank you. So it's given me gifts, you know. I wouldn't feel as strong in my community if I hadn't had to live through all of these things, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. So, I think we're gonna stop the interview here. I wish you all good. And
thank you for this opportunity.
No, thank you to share, to talk and to be here. I'm sad that you couldn't do the no-gi class.
Yeah, that's okay.
Because it's the moment I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna teach you something. but I'm very happy that you are here and you came and talked. And I never know how to finish that.
That's okay. How about thank you?
Yeah, thank you.